All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is daily vlog number 238, I think. Somewhere in there. Let's look. Yep, 238. That's kind of cool. So, today, I'm going to get a drink. Today, I want to piss people off. I've got a hot take, and I am going to hot take it. And I don't really know how that works. Anyway, so if anyone's been watching this channel for the past month, you will know I had a slight obsession with Dragon Age the Veilguard. Pre-ordered it, played it. Sorry, I got a thing on my glasses. There we go. All right, so I pre-ordered it, played it. I have well over 100 hours in the game. I've beaten it twice. I got the Platinum Trophy on my PS5 for it. I like the game. It is not a great game. It's a good game. It's not a great game. There's a lot of problems with it. But overall, I enjoyed both of the times that I beat the game. I'm currently working on a third playthrough for it, and I'm playing a rogue this time. And for whatever reason, I'm not digging the rogue as much as I enjoyed the warrior and the mage. But it might just be that I'm really, really early in the game. So anyway, I don't want to talk about the Veilguard right now. What I do want to talk about is I have watched a lot of reviews on the Veilguard. I have gone over quite a few different Reddit posts to talking about it. And one of the most common criticism from Dragon Age fans that I see, that I don't think is nearly as widespread as people think it is. I think it's just a really, really vocal minority. But it's this group of people who were really, really big fans of Dragon Age Origins, which is a good game. It's not a great game, but it's a good game. I will explain why in a little bit here. And their biggest complaint about Dragon Age the Veilguard is that it's not a tactical RPG like Dragon Age Origins was, which I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off right now. Dragon Age Origins was not a tactical RPG. It was what used to be referred to as a CRPG, which just stood for Computer RPG, and it was things like Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter and the Nights. They all used basically the same kind of control scheme. Fun fact, I believe Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 is developed by Bethesda, the people that made Dragon Age Origins. And my understanding is the reason that they made Dragon Age is that they really didn't like the restrictions that were put on them when they were creating Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter and the Nights, because they wanted to tell a different story. And Wizards of the Coast, the people that own those licenses, and I think TSR before, just said, no, this is what Dungeons and Dragons is, you'll do that. So Dragon Age was Dungeons and Dragons without Dungeons and Dragons. So anyway, this criticism that keeps coming back is that the game would have been so much better if it was just, I'm going to refer to it as a CRPG. The same kind of combat style, which the way that, at least on PC, on game consoles, it didn't work this way. To be perfectly honest, it didn't work spectacularly well on game consoles, but it wasn't bad. It definitely played a little bit better on PC than it did on consoles. And I've played both the console version and the PC version of Dragon Age Origins. This big criticism that they have is that they wish that it was a CRPG and not an action RPG. And I've pushed back against that idea a little bit. And now I've just got to the point where I'm really just sick of it. The combat in Dragon Age Origins is bad. Like, it's not that, oh no, it's tactical. No, it's bad. It's just flat out bad. There's no redemption for it. Did it work at the time? Absolutely. You can have a lot of fun right now playing Dragon Age Origins if you can get it to work on a modern system. It's an old game that's never been updated, and it would be real nice if Bethesda would make like a Dragon Age trilogy thing. Because right now I can play Dragon Age Inquisition on my PS5, and I have. I enjoy it. I've beaten it on there multiple times, actually. But I can't play Dragon Age 2, can't play Dragon Age Inquisition. And you actually can't play Dragon Age Inquisition on any consoles anymore because, I mean, you can technically put in the disc, but all the DLC servers are down, so any updates, anything that's not on the disc itself, you can no longer access. So, like, the Awakening DLC, you can't play that anymore on a console. So getting back to the matter, the combat worked for the time because there was nothing like Dragon Age Origins on the market, and the storytelling and the plot itself and the world was more than enough to make up for a crappy combat system. But the Dragon Age Origin combat system was absolute shit. Well, what are you talking about? Well, recently, there's a dude named Josh Strife Hayes. He's super cool. The series that I discovered him from is he has this series called Worst MMO Ever, where he just plays a bunch of MMOs and he talks about what he likes about it and what he doesn't. One of my favorite ones that he did is he actually did a Worst MMO Ever on Dungeons & Dragons Online, of which I have over 300 hours in D&D Online. I love D&D Online. It's one of my favorite things ever. So he did one on D&D Online, and it's Worst MMO Ever, D&D Online. And by the end of it, he's going, no, this is actually a really good MMO. It's a ton of fun. It's dated, but it's really fun. And it got me excited to play DDO again. So anyway, Josh Strife Hayes just released a video, which I strongly recommend you watch because it's brilliant, but it's 2 hours. So get ready for a bit of a thing. We did a video basically reviewing Dragon Age Origins, and he does talk about the combat system, and the combat system is shit. It's not quote-unquote tactical, because very rarely do you have the ability to be truly tactical in the game. The way that the combat system works, it's actually it's very, very similar to Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, is you have a control of a party. And when combat starts, everyone starts doing shit. You can have computer scripts so that the character that you're not controlling will automatically do things, like if an enemy comes close, the AI script can tell them to go attack that enemy, and you can generally modify those scripts a little bit so that, you know, if you have a wizard, they're not, as soon as someone coming close, they're not coming up and just whacking them with their quarterstaff. You can modify the AI script, and everything happens in real time. Now, you can pause so that you can pick individual units and give them orders and the things like that. But everything is done in real time. And because Dragon Age Origins is still technically using a version of D&D, it's not like an OGL kind of thing, but they have 6 attributes, everything. The way that they do it in real time is they basically have each turn be 2 seconds, 3 seconds, something like that. And so on each turn, your character gets so many attacks and stuff like that. And that's how it's worked since Baldur's Gate 1, Baldur's Gate 2, Icewind Dale, Planescape Torment, all those things. That's how they work, is the computer it has a timer, basically, whenever combat starts. And every set amount of time, your character can make this many attacks and can move this far. And that's how everything works. But it's all in real time. And what that generally turns into is, especially if you're playing on high difficulty levels, you are constantly pausing the game, picking out certain characters to tell them what to do, unpausing, pausing again, unpausing, and you're just constantly pausing and unpausing the game. You want to know another way you can simulate that without having to force yourself to pause and unpause the game? Make it fucking turn-based, like Baldur's Gate 3 did and everybody loved. That is tactical combat, because you can move your characters around and there's tactics in it. This real-time bullshit isn't tactical. It's controlled chaos, and it's not controlled very well. Now, when we get to Dragon Age Origins, not only are they using just a bad system for combat in general, they didn't actually make the game... they didn't actually create an engine that made that system work very, very well. And Josh Strife Hayes actually finds out the secret to Dragon Age combat. And what that is each individual creature that you fight is an individual creature that is not connected to any other creature in any way, shape, or form. And so, as long as you can see enemies before you aggro them, if you, take a bow and shoot one, you will pull that one person over. You can focus fire them down, do that to the next one, do that to the next one, do that to the next one. This tactic works for the entire game. There is not a single time in the entirety of the game where this will not work, aside from combats that start with everybody already in combat. Like, there are certain things where you go from cutscene to combat and you can't sneak up and pull targets away. You're just there. Also, because nothing is linked or anything like that, the most powerful thing you can do when you are faced with multiple opponents is run away until you find a door, use the door as a chokehold point, and then just lob fireballs in, because every time you hit them with a fireball, it staggers them. And so you can actually stun lock them by just repeatedly casting fireball over and over and over again, and forcing them into an area where they're fighting with each other to get through a very small opening. That is not tactical. That is a bad combat system. It's what it is. Dragon Age Origins combat system is just bad. Combine that with the fact that, especially on higher difficulty levels, it is balanced so poorly that the only way to win some encounters is to use that pulling method where you take each individual creature and pull it individually so that you can't get overwhelmed. The combat balance in Dragon Age Origins, anyone that's actually played the game knows that there are these just massive difficulty spikes that don't make sense. And there are certain battles that you really have to get lucky to beat at high difficult levels, because either they have to roll damage poorly, or you have to be in certain places when they use certain abilities to make sure that your entire character doesn't die, or that you don't miss a save or something like that and then just get completely obliterated. Anyone that thinks that Dragon Age the Veilguard would have been better using Dragon Age Origins combat system doesn't know what they're talking about. They're looking through rose-colored glasses at a game that was good. Again, Dragon Age Origins isn't a bad game. The combat system is shit. Everything else about the game is phenomenally amazing. It's a fantastic game. I would love the dark fantasy environment that Dragon Age Origins had. I would have loved that to exist in Dragon Age the Veilguard. I think it would have made the story a lot better. I think it would have made multiple playthroughs a lot more fun, because one of the things that really annoyed me with my second playthrough is my first playthrough on any game, I am always like goody two-shoes super paladin. And I'm always like, what can we do to do the right thing? And, oh, don't worry about paying me. I did it because it was right. That's the kind of character I like to play in RPGs the first time. My second run through, I'm like, I'm gonna be an asshole. I'm gonna be just a dick of a character. I'm gonna make morally questionable rule. You can't do that in the Veilguard. You just can't. You can be a bit of an ass. Not like full blown asshole, but you can be annoying and sometimes a little bit inconsiderate. That is the worst that you can be. In the original Dragon Age, like you can do horrible things. In Dragon Age Inquisition, you can make choices that are just horrible. Like you could be a bad guy in Dragon Age Inquisition, and definitely in Dragon Age Origins. You can't in Veilguard. So yeah, I'm totally good with the idea of, yeah, the game would have been better if it had been more like Dragon Age Origins in theme, in flavor. But anyone saying that Dragon Age Origins, the combat system, they wish that it could come back. First of all, again, it's a really bad combat system. It was never good, and anyone that thinks it was either never completed the game or doesn't remember just how god-awful it was. Second of all, the Dragon Age series has been an action RPG series longer than it was a CRPG series. Dragon Age 2, it's when we went from Dragon Age Origins and Awakening happened in 2009 and 2010. Dragon Age 2 came out in 2011, and you had the DLC stuff in 2012. Then 2013, I think it was Dragon Age Inquisition. And then the DLC was 2014. So even if we just ignore the Veilguard, the decade that they spent on the Veilguard, okay? Dragon Age as a series has been an action RPG game since 2011. It was only a CRPG series in 2009 and 2010. By 2011, it was an action RPG series. It has been an action RPG, and then it was an action RPG for 4 years. Double the amount of time it was a CRPG. So anyone saying, God, they should go with Dragon Age, really, it wasn't. They wanted it to be an action RPG then. They just didn't know how to do it. That's why they immediately switched to an action RPG for Dragon Age to do, because they figured out how to do it. And it worked pretty well. The combat in Dragon Age 2 is actually pretty fun. I think Inquisition perfected that style of combat, and then Dragon Age the Veilguard is just a different kind of combat. It's still fun. I really, really enjoy the combat in Veilguard, but yeah, I am, at this point, I'm just sick and tired of people bitching and moaning about how great the combat system was in Dragon Age Origins. It wasn't. It was shit. It was absolute shit. We need to admit. I also don't think the combat in Baldur's Gate 1 or 2 was good. That particular style of combat, though, to be fair, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 did the CRPG style combat significantly better than Baldur's Gate did. They actually had groups, and it worked better, just hands down. And I think Neverwinter Nights, personal opinion, I think Neverwinter Nights probably had the best kind of version of that style of combat, but it was also the third time or fourth, maybe even fifth time they'd actually done that. So they'd had Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, they'd done Icewind Dale 1 and 2, Planescape Torment, they'd done all those, and then they went to Neverwinter Nights. And while, yes, it was a completely different engine, it was kind of a similar combat style where it was real-time, but not. It was real-time turn-based combat. So, yeah, I keep seeing stuff about Dragon Age and I keep hearing people talking about, man, if it was just like Dragon Age Origins, no, it would have done significantly worse, because that was okay. People were willing to accept it in 2009. I think that's when before I say, well, I've already said it many, many times. Let me see, when did it actually come out? Yeah, 2009. That's what I thought. So, yeah, in 2009, people were willing to accept that, because there wasn't a ton of really good fantasy RPGs going on then. So, yeah, people were willing to accept that, also because, again, that was what you got when you had a party-based computer RPG. That was the combat style at the time. But it wasn't great then. Dragon Age Origins was a step back from Neverwinter Nights and Baldur's Gate 2 as far as the combat was considered. Everything else was a massive step up. Like I said, it's still a good game. And if it wasn't for the combat system, like if they would update the combat system to something that isn't dog shit, that would probably be one of the best games ever made. But the combat system was not good. It was never good. Anyone that's telling you that it was this amazing, wonderful tactical combat system, it wasn't. If you couldn't pause, it would be unplayable. Like, you would never be able to beat the game just because of just how mind-breakingly badly everything works. And I myself was never able to get very far without turning off friendly fire, because that was something you could do, and that made the game slightly more playable. But yeah, it's not good. Please stop saying that we need to return to that. The reason that they use that system is because they didn't have anything better. As soon as they had something better, they abandoned it and are never going back to it. Again, Dragon Age as a series has been an action RPG significantly longer than it was a CRPG. It wasn't meant to be a CRPG in the beginning. They wanted it to be more action-oriented. That was just the only way that they could figure out how to do it at that point. So, feel free to get angry at me in the comments, but I'm done with this shit. Dragon Age Origins combat was shit. Fight me. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.